folks, my name is Janaki.
And this is Madame Bathsheba.
And together we are Catomancy Tarot. So today I have a little bit of an interesting video. I've been simmering on this idea for a little bit now, and I'm ready to to talk to you guys about it. So basically, as you can tell by the title of this video, I've been having some troubles in Oracle land. And what I mean by that is I've been doing a little bit of reflecting on kind of my collection as a whole, and I realize, and I've noticed that I have vastly more tarot decks in my collection than I do oracle decks. I probably have about 3 tarot decks for every one oracle, and I actually find it really challenging to find oracle decks that I really connect with. I don't know if any of you guys have a similar experience where for me, like the right or like there's just a lot of oracle decks that I don't connect with, and it's hard for me to find good ones that I really like. And I've decided to give myself a little bit of a challenge, and this is one of those, I don't know. Sometimes you see I've gotten to see other YouTubers set themselves their own challenges, their own restrictions for like a period of time to try and work through different things. And so I've decided to set myself a little challenge where for the rest of the year, so we're in August now, so for the next kind of 5 months or so, I really only want to focus on oracle decks. And that means for me, mostly like I don't want to acquire pretty much any new tarot decks, and I'd like to focus on trying to find more oracle decks that really do work for me and kind of only kind of invite those into my practice. And as with like a lot of these, I guess, kind of restriction videos, I have my own rules for this, which I'll get into a little bit, and I have, there are some exceptions. But for the video today, I thought it might be fun to kind of break down the kind of the anatomy of my oracle deck collection and take a look at what kinds of decks I do already have, what are the different types of oracle decks in my collection, and try and find any kind of like gaps or areas where I would like to find a deck that might be able to kind of fill a niche or fill a purpose. And I know I love watching collection videos, so this will be a chance for you to see what is actually in my oracle collection. And it's I don't know, it's always weird talking about size when it comes to collection because it's really kind of individual to the collector and what what kinds of things they like to focus on. But I feel like I have a relatively small oracle deck collection. I think I'm going to show you something like 26 decks, which for some folks that might be a ton, and for some folks that might not be. So that's just what I got. And I'm going to take you through kind of the different sort of categories I'm thinking through in my oracle collection, and then tell you a little bit about what kinds of things that I'm kind of looking out for, what kinds of criteria I'd like to kind of seek out in potential new oracle decks. And then I'll also talk you through a little bit of what this challenge might actually look like. So with that, I'll go ahead and flip this camera around and we can start taking a look. Here we go.
All right, so first off, I just thought I'd start by talking a little bit about, my overall kind of feelings about collecting in general, because sometimes I think it's interesting to hear people reflect on some of the reasons behind why they like to collect or what their and you don't it's not like you actually need a goal for collecting. Sometimes it's just fun, and I'm here for that. So it's not to say that you need a rationale, but I thought it might be interesting to hear a little bit of mine or share a little bit of mine. And I'm someone who I'm working on a dissertation about um, tarot reading practices in the US and India. And so part of the reason I collect is to kind of, you know, get to know the what's out there, and so my collection is something that's kind of curated towards understanding tarot history, and but on the other hand, I'm also a practitioner, and I'm also looking for decks that I like to use and own. So some of the decks I have in my collection, I actually have no intention of ever using in personal practice, and I am 100% kind of okay with that. Um, and then there's some decks that I get only for personal use, and they become kind of like very personal to me. I think there's this on YouTube sometimes there's, I guess you see some folks who um, like to have a really like trimmed down, very curated, very kind of a smaller collection, and they feel strongly about that they need to kind of use all of the decks and get to know all of the decks really well. And then you have some folks who are kind of more on the maximalist end who just like having a lot of decks. And I think both perspectives are like completely valid. And for me, where I'm at right now, I'm feeling like I I'm actually like very happy with like my current tarot collection. I feel like it's kind of very well rounded. There's not a lot of kind of gaps. I've over the last couple of years, I've been really lucky to get my hands on a lot of the decks that have been on my wish list for a long time. And so I'm actually like very pleased with where I'm at with tarot. But when it comes to Oracle, I feel like there's still kind of more to explore, and I have a hard time finding Oracle decks that I really connect with. And so for my challenge, I'm gonna try and kind of the only the deck the only to only bring in Oracle decks for the rest of the year. So that means no, no buying of tarot, only Oracle. It doesn't mean that I'll only use Oracle decks, but it means that I'll only kind of bring the only new decks I'll be bringing in is Oracle. Um, and there are a few kind of notable exceptions in terms of there's a few like tarot pre-orders or things I've been waiting for a long time that if they do launch, because they've been on my wish list for ages, I will go ahead and jump on those. But I don't even know if those are going to be released for sure. Um, One I've had, and then there's like one or two kind of decks I really have wanted for spooky season. And since spooky season only comes once a year, I've been waiting all year to get those. So I might get one or two spooky decks. Um, there's a few pre-orders, like I've wanted Gardens and Goblins, but it went out of print and now it's pre-orders again, so I may or may not hop on that. If it looks like it's going to like go out of print again, I'll probably jump on it. Otherwise, I'll try and hold off for as long as I can. And then there's the Sophie Hollington deck, which is a really awesome lino cut deck, and that's getting a reprint, and it's now a full deck instead of majors only. And that's one that's been on my radar for years. And then I don't know if this is fake news or not, but one of the out of print decks that have been on my list for a really long time is the Tarot of the Hidden Light, um, or the Invisible Light, rather, the Invisible Light Tarot, the photographic deck. That's like $300 on Etsy. It sounds like I read her Etsy page, and it sounds like she's going to be doing a reprint sometime at the end of this year, potentially. Uh, I can't find any more if you know anything about that, I would love to know, because I couldn't find any more information other than what she said on her like Etsy item description page. But if that gets released, I'm gonna jump on that. And then there's one other pre-order by someone who I'm kind of semi-acquainted with. It's a mass market deck called, I think it's just called the Goddess of Love Tarot, uh, or something like that. That's another one that's, been on my radar for a little bit. So I guess that's a long list of exceptions. uh, and as I mentioned, I'll probably try and hold out on these. Um, but if some of those do pop up, I might, or look like they're gonna go out of print, then I'm gonna hop on those. But otherwise, I'm just gonna focus on Oracle. So that's the challenge. Those are the terms. And let's take a look at, let me start showing you things instead of just like weird waving hands. So I've categorized my Oracle deck collection into kind of like 4 different piles. And the first pile I think I'm going to talk about is my smallest category. And I don't even think the decks I have are a good representation of this category, but I would call it. I was watching Thea's collection video recently, which was awesome. And she called all of her kind of mass market oracles fluffy, her fluffy oracles. And this is a category of oracle decks that I don't really have. These are kind of your like, very familiar, kind of very ubiquitous, uh, um, fluffy, cozy, kind of new agey oracle decks. And I have a really hard time with those. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I have a really hard time finding ones that I can connect with. And so my 2 examples of this are kind of, I don't know if they're bad examples, but one of them is the kind of the Ari Kira cards. And so I think these are kind of a fluffy, what I would call like a fluffy oracle. They have these kind of very energetic keywords. So you've got, different colored suits for different chakras. You've got this like weird, bad computer graphic art. And one of the reasons I like this deck so much is because I don't need to take this deck 100% seriously in order to have fun with it. It's kind of one of those things that it's like so bad it's good, which, perhaps isn't the artist's original intent, but I do really like this one a lot. I like the sort of graphic style. The keywords are pretty fun. It goes with a lot of decks. So this is one of the, I guess, fluffier oracles in my collection. And there's a few other, there's like so few fluffy decks that I can get down with. It's hard for me to kind of come up with examples of ones that might even work. And then another one, I'm not sure if this one would be considered. It is a mass market oracle. This is the Sybil's Oraculum, or the Black Doves of Africa. And I showed this in my last video, but this is another deck that has kind of, I guess, your standard oracle, like fairly common oracle keywords. I think the keywords are often what can turn me on or off to an oracle, and if they have like really super generic keywords, I pretty quickly have a hard time. But I think there's some, you still have vibration, opposition, transformation, some, gratitude, I think those are some of the very I think this oracle deck has, I guess, some of the most, I guess, standard oracle type keywords. But I do like the art style. I think the art style makes it easier for me to work with. I have a hard time with, I guess, what I would call the kind of very, very new agey type of artwork where you have kind of celestial or like computer graphic or like computer collage or digital collaged kind of images. So these are my two examples of this like first category, which I think is why my Oracle deck collection is so small, is because I don't have a lot of the mass market fluffy decks that everyone seems to like really love. And yeah, I guess everything isn't for everyone. But I guess the next sort of category of decks are what I call single focus or single intention oracles, where the oracle deck is has a really specific purpose, and it's hard to work with that oracle deck outside of that single focus. Like you could potentially use it for a general reading, but the design of the deck really lends itself to like a very specific purpose. And so I'll start off by talking about something like the Yogini's Oracle, or another example of this would be, this is the Book of Doors, which is a like Egyptian pantheon deck. So here we're looking at the 64 yoginis in Tantra. Here you've got all of the different Egyptian dudes, and so both of these decks kind of like you really want to kind of work with them. So you know, as I would find it hard to kind of use these cards outside of their original context. So I wouldn't use these for like a general reading. I usually draw these cards when I am like, I'll draw one before doing some yoga or something along those lines as a kind of like meditative focus. So with those decks, I wouldn't bring these out for, you know, doing readings for other people. They're kind of really kind of focused around one thing. And I think there's a lot of oracle decks out there where it's kind of working with one set of deities or something along those lines, and they seem kind of like very focused to that kind of, if not devotional, then some kind of like interactive practice with those kind, whoever those decks are of. Another kind of example of this is the Yantra Wisdom Oracle. So again, this is kind of, I wouldn't use these in a general reading. They're more kind of geared towards meditation or some kind of focus. So we've got all of the planets. Yantras are a particular type of mandala, and they have their own kind of mantras and meditations and stuff like that. So this is another kind of single focus deck. And then some other examples I have that are, I guess, different would be something like this deck, which is your Wise Animal Body. So this is an oracle deck all about nervous system health. So any card you draw from this deck is going to tell you about how to interact with your nervous system. So this is one of those decks where I like using this deck because it's one of those decks that kind of goes with everything. But one of the issues I've found with that is sometimes I want to do kind of more of a general reading, and all the messages from this deck like it's never going to tell me something that's not about my nervous system, which is totally fine. But I'm just pointing this out as another example of a type of deck that is really meant for one specific type of work, and that it's not an all-rounder, even though like visually it goes with a lot of things. It doesn't, uh, this card, you know, um, is really specific in its purpose and what it's trying to get you to do, right? If that makes sense. The two other decks I have in this category, one is this one. This is the Alcaringa or Oniromancy deck. Oniromancy is divination using dream interpretation, right? And I think technically this is an example. This deck could be used for purposes outside of like dream work or dream analysis. However, I only ever use this in dream interpretation. So for me, this is a single purpose deck. I don't reach for it when doing kind of general readings. I only use it in one specific context. I think this deck has another name now. I'm not sure what it is, but this is an earlier incarnation of that deck. And then the last one in this category is this one. I don't think I've showed it before. This is the Sound and the Vision Oracle. I found this on Etsy. And it's a deck of questions that are helped aimed specifically as creative prompts. Are there enough of them? May it produce a luminous impression? Can receptors suggest a change? So all of these, I use this deck explicitly as like writing prompts or creative prompts, or as a way to kind of do readings before I have like a work session. I'm in the writing stage of my dissertation, so I got this deck specifically to help with that writing process. And I am thinking about doing a video about tarot for dream work. And I am also thinking about doing a video about using tarot as part of a writing practice. So keep your eyes open for those. But this is another example of a deck where pulling this card, in the context of a general reading won't always make sense. But if you're trying to, use it as like, how do I figure out this section of my writing? Then it really works. So that's my first kind of category of oracle decks. In terms of, so those are the ones that they have a single purpose or single focus. The next category is, I guess, what you would call mood decks. I think Anna from Astro Lady Tarot often talks about like main decks and mood decks. And so these are mood decks, or these are decks that have like a heavy theme where you technically could use these decks for any kind of general reading, but they really have a strong vibe. And so you really have to be like on board with that vibe to use them. So they're not like all the time decks. So one example off the bat of this category for me is this oracle deck, which is the Graven Images Oracle. So this is a deck of cemetery photography, and the keywords are actually really well rounded. So this is a deck that would do really well at like all round readings. However, for me, I have to be in the mood for the cemetery deck. Maybe that's not the case for everyone, but this is an example where, yes, this is like a great all-around reader. However, you have to be in a graveyard Does that make sense? So that's how I'm kind of thinking about this category of oracle decks, where they could be general readers, but they've really got a specific vibe going on. Another example of this for me is actually the Dirt Gems Oracle. So this is a deck. I love the guidebook from this deck. I think I was doing something here with them, so I've got it split up here. But I love the guidebook, and for me, reading the guidebook for this deck is a little bit like going to therapy. It's like very well trauma informed. Like, this is, anytime I use this deck, it's like having a session. And so for that reason, this is another, like, visually, this deck goes with almost everything. And I'm someone who doesn't have like a ton of, plant knowledge going into using plant decks. So similarly, this is a bit of a deck has a, I really have to be in the mood to like have a session in order to use them. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. I don't know if you have those kinds of oracle decks where the guidebook is just like the entries are like quite long, so drawing more than like a few cards can kind of quickly become overwhelming. So for that reason, this deck is kind of in the you've got to be in a mood for it, and it's not kind of a general reader for me. So that's Dirt Gems, and then similarly, this deck here, which is the Catomancy Oracle, which is I think it came out last year, but it's a mass market oracle. It's an ecological oracle, so again, it has this like very, very heavy theme going on, and so I have to really kind of be in the mood to get into the weeds of like ecology. And I think one of the things I really love about this oracle deck, and that I realize that something that I look for in oracle deck is to have like really original and engaging and interesting keywords or phrases, and this one checks the box for that big time. A swarm of bees, kissed by whale spray, in the tunnels of our ancestors. They're all really evocative and really interesting. And for that reason, I keep this one around, even though for me, this is a deck where it's not all the time. You've got to be in a mood. I also, I'm having a hard time figuring out what to pair it with. I don't have a lot of like these earthy toned watercolor type decks. So I think that's another kind of criteria that I look for in bringing in any new oracle decks, is that they've got to work, they have to play well with others. I'm one of those readers who, it's gotta work, they gotta play well together, otherwise I won't want to use them. In this category is also the Marvelous Medieval Oracle, and I got this specifically to pair with the Solara Occulta deck. And this deck is, it's very sweet, it's very cute, but it is a mood, right? It feels very cozy. This is a cozy fall deck, lots of autumn colors. It's got this like charming medieval theme. The keywords are fairly well rounded, but again, it's like it's a little bit niche. It's a little bit of it's doing a specific aesthetic goal, right? I would also say something like Barbara Walker, and that I Ching of the Goddess, this is a total vibe. Like you've got to be in the mood. And like I'm a Barbara Walker stan. I love her tarot deck. Um, but even though this oracle could be used as a general reader, for me, I've really want to got, you gotta get into the zone. You got to get into the Barbara Walker mindset to really want to use this one. And I've got some plans I'm excited. I think one of my fall projects is going to be to modify them because I've got a really banged up copy, and the cards are that I hate the backs and they're rubbing off on the fronts. So I think I'm going to both trim them and reback them, and I've got some fun ideas for it. So stay tuned if you're curious about that one. Then I've got this little guy, Cards of Chaos. This is again, this is a bit of a vibe. There aren't any meanings, so you kind of create your own meanings and interactions. They're quite chaotic. I don't always know what to do with them, and I have a weird copy. It's like a misprint. But this is I haven't used this deck for years, but I love the illustrations. But this is, yeah, I don't find that this makes for like a good general reader. So it's in this category. And then I just talked about this deck in my last video. This is the Wild Alchemy Lab. These are technically like alchemical recipe cards for like astrobotanical remedies. So it's I use them mostly for divination, but that's not their kind of prime intended purpose. But I think, I can use these kind of for a general reading, but they're really meant for this more, I guess, plant medicine type of vibe. They've got, a little blurb and then a recipe on the back for each of them. And sometimes, there aren't keywords unless you think of to treat minor burns as a keyword, which isn't super useful in a divination. But then, calendula flowers are heliotropic. They trace the sun across the sky. So, maybe you can work with the idea, maybe heliotropic is the keyword for this. So, yeah, that's this little guy. I've really been digging pairing this deck. I've been having a lot of fun with that. And the last deck in this category is this little guy. And I've been, this was a Kickstarter from last year. I haven't really started working with this extensively, mostly because I've been waiting for spooky season. So this is like an old school fortune teller deck from the turn of the century that recently got reborn and edited. And so this is, I do really like old school fortune teller decks because they have, we've got Happy Dream, Nightmare, very clear, upright and reverse. I don't often read reversals, but I think with this deck I'm gonna have to. And so yeah, this is a spooky vibe, very fun. But I haven't really been using it yet because I've been like saving this one for myself to break it out once spooky season sort of fully arrives. And I'm not really sure what it's going to go with in my collection yet. I guess that's another reason I haven't really gotten into it. But I am, yeah, this is the last one in this category where it's a little bit of a mood and maybe not for everything. So that leaves us with this sort of fourth and final category I have, which are like oracle decks that are good general readers. And so I've got a little bit of a basket here for you. So this is a basket. Everyone in this basket is what I would call my general readers. And I only have 10 of them, which I think this is the category that I think I would most like to expand, is to find more oracle decks that I can use that are good at just being general readers, and that don't have like I mean, not to say that I'll reject an oracle that I like just because it's super vibey or because it's only meant to do one thing, but I think it would be really nice to have some more like solid general readers to play around with. All right, so we'll go ahead and whoop, get back into taking a look at these. I guess we'll start. My first oracle deck that I got was Marcella Kroll's Sacred Symbols Oracle. And I think this is like an excellent example of a general reader. Love Marcella. This is the 4th edition. It is mass market now. But this, I think this is an example of an oracle deck that has those kind of like very general and like very oracle-y keywords. Like I feel like this oracle deck captures a lot of the ideas that are out there in a lot of these kind of like mass market fluffy decks, but this one is kind of like more direct, more to the point. And for the first year or so, I worked really extensively with this one deck, and it's a really good reader. It really goes well with a lot of things. I regret edging it in red because it's like really worn, and you can see, you can see all the foxing on the sides. So yeah, that's the Sacred Symbols Oracle. I think this is another one. I guess you might be able to put this in the category of I don't know, a fluffy deck, or kind of your like archetypical oracle deck that has, spiritual cleansing, guides, healer, boundaries, these kinds of those kinds of keywords. But it was a staple for a long time in my collection. But it's not something I find myself reaching for super often these days. But I don't know, it's so iconic to me that I'll never let it go. And then the second like oracle deck that I got when I started, I guess, acquiring decks back in, I guess, 2018 or so, was this one, the Road to Nowhere Oracle. This is my favorite oracle deck of all time, hands down. It's very sadly out of print. This is a Mary Evans Spirit Speak deck. Her oracle decks are really well loved. I have one other of her oracle decks, but this is my fave. For sure. And I think I like it because it has these non-traditional keywords, while still remaining kind of very, like, they're still very readable. And they're fun, and there's like humor in them, time travel, tide, blooming, possession. I love this one. Yeah, mine is very well used and very well loved. But I just want I want more oracle decks like this one, where the key phrases or keywords are unconventional, but they're not so unconventional as to be hard to work with in divination. So there's something about it, like Key to the Temple, that can be very specific, but that can also, you know, stand for a broader set of things, so that when it comes up in a reading, you're not locked into like only one thing. It's like having these keywords kind of opens things up rather than shutting them down, if that makes any sense. So that is my dearly beloved Road to Nowhere. The other Mary Evans deck I have is the Pixie Oracle. This is her newest collage oracle, and I think it's super cute. I think it is a little bit of a general reader. It's very youthful. It's super cute. And again, she's got, I think she does oracle keywords quite well. The other deck that she's made that everybody really, really loves is it the Iris Oracle? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And that one's got a reputation for being like cutting to the chase, very direct, very confronting. And I just can't handle the like pencil color drawings. I can't handle it. And I don't, yeah, for that reason, I don't think I'd be able to work with it. Which is a shame, because I know a lot of people swear by that deck. I guess since we're on the category, I have two other collage oracles. One is Runners of the Sun. I made a walkthrough and review of this deck, which I kind of walked through at the same time as the Road to Nowhere Oracle, if you are curious. This is another deck that is, I would say, is a general reader. It is kind of well-rounded. And I'm someone who has a lot of collage decks in my collection, so having, I think I have 4 collage oracles, 5 if you count this writing prompt, The Sound and the Vision. So it's, I guess it's, you know, in the spirit of like trying to find decks that go well with decks I already have. There's this one, and then the other like absolutely iconic, you know, all-time favorite collage oracle is the Tantric Dakini Oracle. I've severely modified mine. I cut off the borders and the titles. This is a deck that I worked a lot with. I know all of the titles from memory. I'm actually, I think it might be fun to have another copy of this deck that still has the white borders. Sometimes you want borders, and sometimes you don't, and you just want the images. So I think this might be the only Oracle deck I have a backup copy of, or thinking about getting one of, just because I think, I don't know, I think this one's like super, super iconic. It was made by Penny Slinger in the 1970s, and it's doing a very specific thing. But this is another, you know, example of, I love Oracle decks with really unconventional titles, and this is an example. You know, I think this is Island of Jewels, Chameleon, Survival, Mercury. You know, it has some really, really interesting ones. So that is that little dude. And then we've only got a few guys left in this collection video. So next up is the Living Altar Oracle. I love this deck. I love it a lot, and I find it to be a good all-round reader, but it has a very strong perspective. So this deck is kind of structured around the Wheel of the Year. So you have elements, and then you have moon cycles and seasons, and then you have cards that kind of represent different stages of life, and then other kind of associated keywords. It's all got its elemental correspondences, and I really enjoy reading this with this deck with the Marseille. I think the kind of the lino cut texture and the wood block prints of some of the old Marseille decks go really well together. And I find this is for me, this deck, while it can be like an all-rounder, the types of meanings I get out of this deck are kind of often very much about cycles and what cycle you're in and getting in tune with different cycles. So for me, it has a very kind of specific point of view. The next, let's take a look here. We're down to the last few. The next one I'm going to show is the Personal Oracle. This is the second edition by Coleman Stevenson at the Dark Exact. And I love this oracle. I think it's really nice to have one oracle that's just like objects. And this is just kind of in the vein of like old school. It's evocative of kind of old school cartomancy decks. Something like the Lenormand, or like the Oracle of Nostradamus, or another oracle that I'm going to show you called the Oracle Baleen, where you've just got the name and the title, and the images are kind of like very simple and very clear, and she's kind of inviting you to come up with your own meanings for each of the cards, so there isn't a really long guidebook. And so something like this, I can kind of easily incorporate this into a lot of different kinds of readings. And it's fun to use this deck with people who have never really gotten a reading before, because these are all things that are, with tarot, you can get so esoteric and people don't even know what they're looking at sometimes. But you see this and you say like, what, everyone knows what this image is. What is ringing? Where is the, like, what is the bell that is being rung? People kind of can have this like immediate connection to the image because of its kind of simplicity and iconicity, which is very, very fun. And then the deck that I just mentioned is this one. And this is a very, very old school oracle deck. It's another kind of example of a historical oracle deck. 1845. So this is it's still, it's mass market and it's still being printed, but this is a deck that has kind of a long history in France. And it's a planetary oracle, so there's 7 suits for the 7 classical planets, and then you have different types of keywords and really cute little illustrations of these like quirky little dudes. And so this is another one that it's like very well rounded. It's a good kind of like fortune tellery deck. So it's a fun one to pull out, but it's, I guess this could also, instead of a general reader, this could be like one of the mood. It is a bit of a, gotta be in the historical mood, I guess. But it's sort of intended for general use. And then I've just got 2 little guys left, and that'll be everybody. One is this little guy, and this is the Terra Incognita Oracle. And so this is just a little guy, and it has black and white plant photography images with interesting keywords. And again, the keywords here they're all a little bit magical, a little bit ritualistic, but they don't get into the super cheesy category. They're still, I don't know, I really like them. And sometimes these keywords can feel a little bit samey to me sometimes as like a collection of keywords. I think they're all, you know, like if you got Invocation and Mystic side by side, it's hard for me to kind of like distinguish sometimes, if that makes sense. But I like this one also because this is a deck that goes with so many things. And I really dig it. It's just a little guy, but I really like him. And I would love to find, if you guys know of any like little oracle guys that have like gold borders. I have a lot of decks with gold borders, and I don't have an oracle deck with gold borders. To go with those. And then the last oracle deck I'm going to show you is another it's my littlest guy. It's the Sovereign Oracle. And this is a really great, I'm so glad I finally got this one. They just have these keywords and then some questions. So this deck is useful as like a spread machine, which I think is a fun way to use an oracle. So to have, maybe the spread here would be expansion, epiphany, and opportunity, and then you would draw, a tarot card for each or something like that, and then that's your spread. I think that's a really fun way to use oracle, and I like the abstract nature photography. I think that's a category of deck that I'm intrigued by. So since this little guy sort of concludes our what decks do I actually have, I guess as I kind of flip through, I can talk a little bit about of what kinds of decks am I thinking about, or what kinds of things would I like to, I guess, keep my eye out for. And I think I would like some more like photography style decks. I like abstract photography, and I know a lot of folks have really enjoyed the Death Doula Oracle, and that's another deck that has like unconventional keywords, abstract photographic images. I think it might be a good fit, and I've already ordered it and it's on its way. So I'm gonna, once I get it, I'm gonna work with it for a while, and then kind of get back to you guys about it. And then there's a few other kind of nature themed photography decks. There's the tiny little guy. Is it the Nature Wisdom Messages Oracle? That's mass market. I think that one might play nice. It's another one that has kind of like very simple keywords, but they're all kind of natural imagery without it getting like too cheesy, I guess. Sometimes the cheese is fun. I think I maybe need to work on finding like maybe I just need to like get a very cheesy oracle and see if I can deal with it just as an exercise. I think that if I were to do that, I might check out the what are they called? The Crystal Ally card oracle. It was very, very 90s, very 90s. So maybe that's one I could try. And then there's a couple like plant photography decks that look very cool. I think one of them I saw recently on Krista the Crochet Witch's channel. It was I think it's 50 plants that heal, but those it has like pictures of different parts of plants all arranged on a black background, and they look quite pretty. I was also watching Meg from Rose Honey Ritual did a video on all of her plant decks, and she had these Alaskan flower essence cards that have like beautiful photographs of plants. That might be really pretty. I think yeah, I'm thinking about that one. The other plant deck that I've been hemming and hawing about for years is the Rose Alchemy Oracle, which is like a totally beautiful deck. But one of my hangups with it is that I know the creator has like this is kind of her life's work. She offers classes and workshops, and so her deck is meant to be used in a very specific way. And like I respect her practice and her style of energy work and the way she does that. But I'm not interested. I don't think her style of energy work is really for me. It's not my style, it's not my usual thing. And I think a lot of the keywords and associations she has with the roses in the oracle isn't something that would work for me necessarily, even though I find her images like stunningly beautiful and very compelling, and I respect everything that she's doing. I just don't think it's for me. So I've been thinking about whether or not I can find my own way or maybe come up with my own keywords for that oracle to see if that's something, I could use. Yeah, I don't know. And then I guess is there anybody else? Yeah, mainly that's kind of what's I've been up to, what I've been thinking about, the kinds of decks I've been interested in. And I'm also maybe thinking about the Outgrow Yourself Oracle, which is kind of a Thothy Tarot / Oracle. I'm not someone who always loves modern illustration styles, but I think that one people seem to really love, and I think I would be into it. I think I have some decks that it would work really well with. And then I'm also kind of thinking about the Fallen Angels Oracle, because again, I think that deck would go really well with a lot of my other decks, but I think it's an example of like a very specific mood deck that wouldn't always go with I'd have to, be in the spooky kind of mood, which, we're getting into spooky season. Maybe that's not a problem right now. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear if you guys have any similar, I don't know, hang-ups or difficulty finding oracle decks that really work for you. I'd be curious to hear about your experience. And I'm doing this more for my own sake, and I thought it just might be something that's interesting to share with you. I will be. Uh, I almost forgot. Another two other collage oracle decks that are kind of on my horizon. From the Game Crafters, I ordered the Craft Decadence Oracle, It's another like mini collage oracle that's print on demand, so that one takes a little bit longer. But that one has like really unique keywords. Um, and I think that could be kind of promising. And then my most anticipated oracle of the year, When Olga Speaks, by Sasha Lopez. She was kind enough to offer to send me a advanced copy of a prototype for that deck. Even though sadly her Kickstarter didn't get funded, she's going to kind of take some time, do some more work on it, and maybe relaunch later in the year. But I'm really excited to get my hands on a prototype for that. And I think that deck will, it fits a lot of the criteria I'm looking at. I think it'll go really well with a lot of the decks already in my collection. I really enjoy the keywords, um, and I think it'll be like a good general reader. And those are the like three of the things that I'm really kind of looking for. So I think, I don't know if this will be like a whole series, or maybe I'll just check back in with you guys as I'm getting kind of new oracles to see how they all fit in. So I hope this was fun to watch. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I've got in my oracle collection. I'm curious to, hear your guys' thoughts, and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.